Imagine waking up every day thinking you're in control, your choices, your dreams, your life. But what if I told you the path you're on wasn't yours to begin with? What if your opinions, your ambitions, even your idea of success were quietly planted in your mind by forces you've never questioned? Think about it. Why do you work tirelessly for things that don't bring you joy? Why do you follow rules that no one ever explained? Somewhere, deep down, you feel it, that nagging sense that something isn't quite right. But here's the unsettling truth. The chains holding you back aren't physical. They're invisible, yet they control everything. And the scariest part, most people never even notice. Picture this. A child walks into a classroom for the first time, brimming with curiosity and imagination. Over time, that spark dims. The child learns not to question authority, to sit still, and to follow the rules. What's happening here isn't just education, it's the first link in a chain of conditioning, a silent but systematic training on how to conform. Mental slavery doesn't begin in adulthood. It starts subtly in childhood, in places we trust the most, our schools, our homes, our communities. These institutions shape how we see the world and, more importantly, how we see ourselves. It's not malicious, but it is deliberate. Why? Because societies thrive on predictability. They need workers, not rebels, followers, not freethinkers. Historically, the roots run deep. Think of feudal systems where peasants were bound to serve lords, or the Industrial Revolution, which turned human beings into cogs in a massive machine. While those chains were often visible, today's are far more insidious. The systems evolved, but their goals stayed the same: control. Take the idea of success. For centuries, it's been packaged and sold as material wealth, status, and power. But who defines what success looks like? Advertisers, corporations, and governments, all with something to gain. You're bombarded with messages telling you to buy this, achieve that, and chase a life that might not even align with what you truly want. Psychologists call this phenomenon social conditioning. It's the process by which society molds individuals to fit its expectations. Think about the concept of a normal life. Go to school, get a job, buy a house, retire. It's so deeply ingrained that stepping outside of it feels like rebellion. Here's an example. You work a 9-to-5 job you don't love. Why? Because it's responsible, because it's what everyone does, because the idea of quitting feels terrifying. But have you ever stopped to ask who benefits from you staying in that role? Corporations need employees, banks need borrowers, and economies need consumers. Your discomfort isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. Even media plays a role. From TV shows to social media, you're constantly fed images of what life should look like. Happy families and spotless homes, influencers living luxury lifestyles, news channels telling you who the bad guys are. It's not about informing or inspiring. It's about keeping you in line. And here's the kicker. This conditioning doesn't just shape what you do. It shapes how you think, how you feel, and even how you dream. The boundaries society places around you become the boundaries you place around yourself. But what if I told you the real reason these systems exist isn't just to maintain order? It's to maintain power. Because a free mind is unpredictable, and unpredictability is a threat. Imagine you're standing in the middle of a maze. At every turn, there's a sign that says, "This is the way to happiness." So you follow it, only to hit a dead end. Frustrated, you try again, following another sign that promises fulfillment, success, or freedom. But no matter how hard you try, you never really escape. That maze, it's modern society, and those signs. They're the systems designed to keep you running in circles. Let's start with the obvious culprit, media. It's everywhere, constantly whispering in your ear, or, more accurately, shouting. Buy this to be cool. Watch this to stay informed. Follow this trend, or you'll be left behind. But have you ever wondered why every piece of media feels so urgent? It's because urgency creates dependence. If you're always chasing the next big thing, you never have time to pause and ask, wait, do I even want this? Take social media, for example. It's like a digital high school cafeteria with everyone vying for attention. You scroll through pictures of vacations, perfectly plated meals, and yet another engagement announcement, thinking, why doesn't my life look like that? But here's the kicker. Most of those people don't even live the lives they post about. It's a carefully curated illusion, but it works because it keeps you striving for something just out of reach. And then there's education. Remember being told that getting good grades was the key to a good life? That if you worked hard enough, you could be anything you wanted? Fast forward a few years, and you're stuck in a job where your potential feels more like a joke than a promise. The truth is, education systems weren't designed to unleash your creativity or individuality. They were built to produce workers, obedient, reliable, and compliant. You weren't taught to think critically. You were taught to follow instructions. Now let's talk about the workplace. The 9-to-5 grind where dreams go to die. Think about it. You spend the majority of your waking hours working for someone else, following their rules and helping them build their dream. You're rewarded just enough to keep you coming back, but never enough to truly break free. It's like being on a treadmill. You're running, sweating, and exhausting yourself, but you're not actually getting anywhere. Ever heard the phrase work-life balance? It's one of society's cruelest jokes. You're told to work hard and play hard, but when exactly are you supposed to play? After an 8-hour workday? After commuting, cooking, cleaning, and answering emails that were definitely not in your job description? The truth is, modern work culture isn't designed for balance. It's designed for burnout. And the more burnt out you are, the less likely you are to question the system. Even something as seemingly harmless as entertainment plays a role in keeping you trapped. Think about how many hours you've spent binge-watching TV shows or scrolling through TikTok. Sure, it's fun, but it's also a distraction. Because as long as you're entertained, you're not thinking about the bigger picture. You're not questioning why you feel stuck, unfulfilled, or restless. Here's the genius of it all. These systems don't just control your actions, they shape your beliefs. You start to think that working yourself to exhaustion is noble, that buying the latest gadget is progress, and that your worth is tied to your productivity. It's not just a trap, it's a masterpiece of manipulation. But what if I told you that these systems aren't as unbreakable as they seem? That there's a way to step off the treadmill, out of the maze, and into a life that feels authentically yours? That's where the real story begins. Imagine waking up every morning feeling like you're behind before the day even starts. You look at your to-do list, compare it to the endless highlight reels of other people's lives, and feel a wave of inadequacy wash over you. It's not just a bad day, it's the invisible weight of mental slavery quietly suffocating your self-esteem. The thing about mental slavery is that it doesn't come with shackles you can see. Instead, it shows up as a voice in your head saying, "You're not good enough, you're falling behind, or you'll never measure up." Over time, that voice stops feeling external. It becomes your own. It's subtle, like background noise you learn to ignore, but its effects are profound. Take ambition, for example. When you're trapped in mental slavery, your goals aren't truly yours. Think about it. How many of your ambitions come from what you actually want versus what you've been told you should want? You chase the dream job, the perfect relationship, the Instagram-worthy life, not because it fulfills you, but because it's what society says success looks like. And when you don't achieve it, you don't question the system, you question yourself. Let's talk about decision-making. Ever notice how hard it is to trust your instincts? That's because mental slavery trains you to doubt your own judgment. From a young age, you're taught to seek approval, first from parents, then teachers, bosses, and even strangers online. You second-guess your choices, thinking, "What will they think of me?" instead of asking, "What feels right to me?" Over time, you become paralyzed by fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping outside the lines society has drawn for you. It's not just your confidence that suffers, your sense of self gets eroded too. When you're constantly trying to fit into a mold, you lose touch with who you are. You stop exploring your passions, questioning your beliefs, or dreaming beyond the limits society sets. Instead, you settle for less, not because you're incapable of more, but because you've been conditioned to believe you don't deserve it. And then there's the emotional toll. Mental slavery doesn't just exhaust you, it isolates you. You feel disconnected from yourself, from others, and from the life you truly want. You might even find yourself avoiding people or opportunities because the thought of failure or rejection feels unbearable. It's a vicious cycle. The more isolated you feel, the harder it is to break free. But here's the cruelest part. Mental slavery convinces you that this is normal. That feeling stuck, overwhelmed, and unworthy is just part of life. You tell yourself, everyone feels this way, or I'm just overthinking. But what if you're not? What if these feelings are the result of a system designed to keep you small, compliant, and controllable? And what if breaking free isn't as impossible as it seems? Because here's the truth. The chains might be invisible, but they're not unbreakable. In fact, the first step to freedom is seeing them for what they are and realizing they don't define you. But why do these chains feel so heavy? What's the deeper reason they're so hard to break? To understand that, we need to look at the bigger picture, and the answers might just surprise you. Picture this. You're standing in a room with no visible doors, feeling trapped. But what if the door isn't locked at all? What if it's just hidden behind a curtain you've never thought to pull aside? That's what breaking free from mental slavery is like. It starts with the realization that the walls around you aren't as solid as they seem. The first step is awareness. Think of it like this. You can't fix a problem you don't realize exists. Start by questioning the rules you live by. Why do you believe success means working 60 hours a week? Why do you feel guilty taking a break? These beliefs didn't come out of nowhere. They were planted by societal systems designed to keep you on a hamster wheel. The trick is to pause long enough to ask, is this really my belief or did I inherit it? For instance, think about your daily routine. How much of it feels like a choice versus an obligation? Take a moment to write down 3 things you do every day, whether it's scrolling through social media, answering emails the second they arrive, or saying yes to every request. Then ask yourself, why am I doing this? Does it serve me or is it just habit? Even realizing how much of your time is spent on autopilot can be an eye-opener. The next step is redefining success on your terms. This doesn't mean quitting your job to live off the grid, unless that's your dream. It means getting clear on what truly matters to you. One powerful exercise is to write your own definition of success in one sentence. For some, it's financial freedom. For others, it's having time to spend with loved ones or pursuing a passion without fear. Once you define it, use it as your compass. Now let's talk about small, achievable changes, because real transformation doesn't happen overnight. Start with your environment. If you're surrounded by people, media, or even physical spaces that reinforce the idea that you're not enough, it's time to make a shift. That might mean unfollowing accounts that make you feel inadequate or setting boundaries with people who drain your energy. It could even mean rearranging your workspace to feel more inspiring and less overwhelming. Another powerful step: reclaim your time. Mental slavery thrives on the idea that you should always be on, always working, always available, always striving. But what if you reclaimed just 15 minutes a day for yourself? Use that time to do something that feeds your soul, whether it's journaling, meditating, or simply sitting in silence. It sounds small, but those 15 minutes are like planting a seed. Over time, they grow into something much bigger, a mindset where you come first. Here's a metaphor to keep in mind. Breaking free is like untangling a knot. You don't yank at it, you gently work through one loop at a time. Maybe your first loop is saying no to one unnecessary commitment. Maybe it's challenging one limiting belief, like I need to be productive to have value. Each small action weakens the chains until one day you look down and realize they're gone. Transformation stories can help too. Think of someone you admire. Maybe it's a friend, a public figure, or even a character in a book. Chances are, their journey to freedom didn't start with some grand, dramatic moment. It likely began with a single decision to step off the path others had laid out for them and forge their own. That's what you're doing here. And yes, it's scary. Change always is. But ask yourself this: is staying stuck scarier? Is spending the next 5, 10, or 20 years living someone else's life worth avoiding the discomfort of growth. Because while freedom requires effort, staying trapped comes with a cost you're already paying. But what happens once you've taken that first step? Once you've questioned the rules, reclaimed your time, and started rewriting your story? That's when the real magic begins. That's when you start seeing possibilities you never imagined. And those possibilities, they're just the beginning. Imagine waking up in the morning, not because your alarm dictated it, but because you genuinely felt ready to start your day. No dread, no frantic thoughts about unfinished tasks or what society expects of you. Instead, you feel calm, clear. That's the quiet power of mental freedom. It's not loud or flashy. It's a steady, unshakable foundation that transforms the way you experience life. True mental freedom isn't about escaping all responsibilities or challenges. Life will always have hurdles, but instead of feeling like a hamster on a wheel, you realize that you're the one holding the reins. Take relationships, for example. When you're mentally free, you stop trying to fit into roles others have assigned to you. You're no longer the yes man who bends over backward for everyone else's happiness, nor are you the quiet bystander in your own life story. You set boundaries without guilt because you understand that protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's essential. This shift shows up in the smallest, yet most profound moments, like saying no to that work meeting scheduled during your lunch break because you know you need that hour to recharge, or leaving a toxic friendship because you realize that staying in it only drains you. These aren't acts of rebellion, they're acts of alignment, choices that reflect who you are instead of who the world expects you to be. Mentally free people also approach their careers differently. Success is no longer tied to an endless pursuit of external validation, climbing the corporate ladder just to prove your worth. Instead, you define success in a way that matches your values. For some, that means finding joy in a creative side hustle. For others, it's taking a leap into a new career that feels meaningful, even if it comes with uncertainty. And here's the surprising thing. When you let go of the need to please everyone, you actually become better at what you do. Why? Because you're no longer wasting energy worrying about how others perceive you. You're fully present in your work, your passion, your purpose. Now let's talk about clarity, the kind that comes when you're no longer bogged down by societal noise. Mental freedom gives you the ability to step back and see the bigger picture. You notice patterns you once ignored, like how saying yes to every demand left you feeling burnt out, or how mindlessly scrolling social media only made you feel more inadequate. With this awareness, you can choose differently. This clarity extends to your personal growth too. When you're free from mental chains, you stop seeing mistakes as failures and start viewing them as opportunities to learn. You're kinder to yourself, not because you've lowered your standards, but because you understand that growth isn't linear. Some days, it's a sprint. Other days, it's just putting one foot in front of the other. And that's okay. It's important to note that mental freedom doesn't mean you'll never face self-doubt again. There will still be moments when fear or uncertainty creeps in. The difference is, those feelings no longer control you. They're like background noise, there, but not defining your reality. For example, imagine standing at the edge of a diving board, hesitating. Before mental freedom, you'd likely stay frozen, paralyzed by, what if I fail? But now you recognize that the fear isn't a stop sign, it's just a moment. So you jump, trusting that whatever happens, you'll be okay. This freedom transforms your relationships too. You stop seeking approval from others because you've already given it to yourself. This doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It means you start connecting with them authentically. When you're no longer playing a role, you invite others to do the same. And that's when real relationships flourish. One's built on mutual respect, not unspoken expectations. So what does mental freedom feel like? It's not the absence of challenges, but the presence of choice. It's the ability to hear your own voice amidst the noise of the world and trust it enough to follow where it leads. But here's the thing, mental freedom isn't just a destination. It's a practice, a daily commitment to choosing authenticity over conformity, clarity over chaos, and self-compassion over self-criticism. And the best part, every step you take toward that freedom builds on itself. The more you live it, the more natural it becomes. And what happens when enough people start choosing this path? That's a question worth thinking about, because the ripple effects of individual freedom have the power to transform not just lives, but entire systems. But that's a story for another time. Picture this. You're standing at the crossroads of your life. To one side is the well-worn path, the one you've walked for years. It's familiar, predictable, and safe. To the other side is a new path. It's uncertain, maybe even a little intimidating. But there's something about it, something that stirs a quiet rebellion in your soul. It's the path of freedom. The truth is, mental slavery isn't a chain you can always see. It hides in plain sight, in the endless scroll of your phone, in the decisions you make out of fear instead of desire, in the routines you follow because, well, that's just how it's always been. And breaking free, it starts with a single radical question. What if I lived my life on my own terms? Think about it. How much of what you believe, what you strive for, what you fear is truly yours? How many of your dreams are borrowed from someone else's expectations? These aren't easy questions. They're uncomfortable, and that's the point. Growth never happens in the comfort zone. It happens when you're willing to challenge the narrative, to rewrite the script you didn't even know you were following. But here's the catch. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you the keys to your mind and say, "Here, go be free." This is your journey, your battle, your responsibility. And that's a good thing, because it means you have the power. Start small. Question the things you've always accepted as true. Ask yourself why you do what you do. Is it because it aligns with who you are, or because it's what you've been taught to want? When you catch yourself spiraling into self-doubt or people-pleasing, pause and ask, who does this serve? Me or the story I've been told to live? It's not about making massive, dramatic changes overnight. It's about reclaiming your choices, moment by moment. Choosing to speak up when you'd rather stay silent. Choosing to rest when the world glorifies burnout. Choosing to dream bigger, even when others tell you it's impractical. And when the resistance comes, and it will, remember this. The greatest battles are always fought in the mind. You might face fear, doubt, even criticism. But those are just echoes of the change you're breaking. They're not a stop sign. They're proof that you're doing something most people are too afraid to do. Now I want you to imagine something. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that nothing owns you. Not your past, not your fears, not the expectations of others. Imagine what it would feel like to make decisions purely because they align with your soul, not because you're trying to fit into someone else's mold. Imagine the freedom to fail, to learn, to grow, to live unapologetically. This is what's waiting for you on the other side of mental freedom. Not perfection, but possibility. Not certainty, but choice. And if you're willing to take that first step, to question, to reflect, to act, you'll discover something extraordinary. The chains you thought were unbreakable, they were never real. So here's the challenge I leave you with. Stand at your own crossroads. Look at the path you're on and ask yourself one question. Is this the life I chose or the one I've settled for? And if the answer stirs something deep within you, don't ignore it. Follow it. Chase it. Fight for it. Because in the end, freedom isn't something you're given. It's something you take. And the moment you decide to take it, your life will never be the same.